Right, and I'll hand over to Adam Bonds. Off you go.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Melbourne virtual again, MuleSoft Meetup for December. So we decided to run another meetup this side of Christmas. Now, I guess with the timing that it is at the moment and everyone's busy schedules, we have condensed this meetup down in its duration. However, it is jam-packed full of goodness. So it obviously is an interesting topic tonight, running on around CloudHub 2.0. But yeah, it's great to have you all here, and we really appreciate you joining us this evening. So, in terms of introductions, most people have introduced themselves in the chat so far, but my name's Adam Bond. I'm a principal solution engineer here at MuleSoft. I'm based in Melbourne, and I predominantly work in the retail and consumer goods business. I'm joined by Daniel and Carlos, who are the other meetup leaders. Do you guys want to just have a quick hello for those that haven't met you before? Maybe take yourself off mute, Daniel and Carlos, maybe.
Hello, everybody. Always happy to be in these sessions, learning from all of you. And this is a big topic, probably one of the biggest this year. So looking forward to seeing like all the conversation that we can generate. That would be fascinating.
Great, thanks. And I'm Daniel, a part of the customer success team here, joined by my colleague Tim Dye today. Together we will run the session on CloudHub 2.0. So I've worked with a lot of you on the chat, lots of familiar faces and names. So really excited about this session today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Carlos. So if you haven't had the chance already, we do encourage you to use the chat function within the platform to introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from as well. It's always interesting. It is a Melbourne-based meetup, but we do have people joining from all over the world at different points in time. Okay, so the agenda for today, and I want to get cracking, especially through my part, so we can get into the good stuff. I'll give you a few updates and announcements, and then I'll hand over to Daniel and Tim to run through CloudHub 2.0, including a demonstration. And then Daniel will wrap up with the trivia and giveaways towards the end. So in terms of the announcements, and I'll go through these pretty quickly. In October, we went GA with MuleSoft Direct for industry clouds. Now, what this is industry-based use cases and integrations that are directly in Salesforce. So if you're a Salesforce customer, what we have gone to market with is around Communications Cloud and Energy and Utilities Cloud as well. So these are easy to implement integrations. They've got assets built in, and they are really to drive those common use cases from a Salesforce perspective. Next slide, please. So from the communications industry, if this is where you're working at the moment, you'll see common use cases such as verifying address, checking service based on location, and also how you can place order as well. So these assets and these integrations are, as mentioned before, are built into Salesforce to really drive that integrations from Communications Cloud. And they're also based on the TMF APIs as well. Now, in terms of the energy and utilities industry, as you can see there, we've got customer address, meter reads, and payment as well. So if these are a common use case that you're seeing, this is all around speeding up that development and the integration into those clouds, specifically from a Salesforce perspective, and making your life a lot easier. There are also, roadmap items that will come through as part of that industry integration offering, which is a good segue into.
My dinner. My mommy helped me.
Okay, sorry about that. My 3-year-old never ceases to interrupt. Sorry about that.
So you need to interrupt and prepare. There's no other choice now, Adam.
Exactly. Yeah, so we've got a roadmap webinar coming up for the second half. So keep an eye out for that. Please register December 15th APAC time. So there'll be updates around universal API management, as I mentioned before, around the integration perspective and many other capabilities that are coming. So get an update of what's coming down the line from a product perspective. We also have some other available webinars that you can go and watch. One that's very relevant right now is around the role of IT and how it will change in 2023. We're seeing huge changes and macroeconomic factors around the world at the moment. And the way that organizations are actually working is changing, and the way that IT plays a part in that will be covered during this session. So feel free to take a look at that. We've talked a lot in previous meetups around, how you can discover and govern APIs as part of the universal API management offering that we've gone to market with. So again, this is another asset you can go back and get some more information around that and really see how this comes to life. Now, we do have a plug around an upcoming meetup that's happening in Sydney next week. But in addition to that, there also is a webinar around MuleSoft on OpenShift. Sorry about this. She's very adamant to get involved in the meetup. So we've got the Sydney meetup next week around deploying and managing any point on Runtime Fabric on OpenShift. So we've got some of our colleagues there across customer success, from professional services, and also from solution engineering as well. So if you can make that, feel free to sign up today, because that will be a great session. And being virtual as well means that wherever you're based, you can still join. And as usual, we'll give you an update on Friends of Max. So a new featured video is around what information we can collect for an RTF case. And what you can see there also is, in terms of the newest video releases around endpoint connector issues as well. It's actually trending. Last but not least, so around MuleSoft, obviously we focus quite a big deal around the Anypoint platform and integration API management, but we also have our MuleSoft Composer and RPA community groups as well. So feel free to jump on and listen to the Salesforce admin podcast. So there's featuring Composer in that particular one. So feel free to go and check that out. And also check out the latest enablement sessions as well. So there are some links there, and Daniel's actually provided those links in the chat as well for anyone who wants to take note of those to peruse at your own convenience. And with that, I'll hand over to the main event, over to Daniel and Tim. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, as Adam mentioned, the links for all of the events that Adam has announced are in the chat. So feel free to sign up for these, especially the Sydney meetup next week on RTF and OpenShift. That should be a really good one. All right, now let's talk about CloudHub 2.0. That's the only topic today. So I will walk you through a couple of slides showing a little bit the differences and similarities between the CloudHub that you know and like, and what we call CloudHub 2.0. And then I'll hand over to Tim, and he will show a demo on CloudHub 2.0, show a little bit those features that are new, and that may be interesting for you. In the meantime, if you've got any questions on CloudHub 2.0, and I'm sure there will be a lot, feel free to put them into the chat as well. All right. A bit of an overview. What is CloudHub 2.0? What are the features? What's the architecture? What's the difference between CloudHub 1 and CloudHub 2? Also, what are the limitations? Given we've rolled it out back in August, it's still sort of a bit newish. So there's a couple of limitations there to take into consideration. But we'll talk about that as well. So what is CloudHub 2.0 and how does it fit in? So a lot of you will work for organizations that have been using CloudHub since it was rolled out many years ago. And basically not a lot has changed. It is essentially our next iteration of CloudHub. As you know, when you deploy MuleSoft applications, you've got a choice of either a fully managed PaaS, which is CloudHub. You can run it in a containerized fashion. It's called Anypoint Runtime Fabric. Or you can run it on-prem in a hybrid model using your own servers, your own VMs. What has happened in CloudHub, obviously, as many of you will know, it runs on AWS, and it uses the AWS EC2 infrastructure underneath the covers. So what we've done with CloudHub 2.0 is simply we've sort of almost recreated CloudHub, but using the container infrastructure underneath the covers. So CloudHub 2.0 runs on Amazon EKS, the Elastic Kubernetes Service. And the main reason why we released CloudHub 2.0 is simply for you, as our customers, as our partners, to make use of the specific capabilities that containers bring to the table when running applications on CloudHub. So that's essentially what it is. CloudHub 1, or the traditional CloudHub, is still there. You can still use it. At some point, we will probably not support it anymore, but that's still in the future. And again, although I didn't show the safe harbor statements, sort of any sort of statements around where our products are going, always have to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt, of course. But CloudHub 2.0 is essentially the modernized version of our PaaS. Right, I'll talk a little bit about the features in the architecture, and you will see that a lot of capabilities are actually the same between CloudHub 1 and CloudHub 2, but there's some changes, and that go back to the underlying container capabilities, which really make CloudHub 2 the future-proof option for iPaaS. First of all, there are some terminology changes, given that we're not using EC2 under the covers anymore. It means that the term VPC is not used in CloudHub 2.0. We're now using a so-called private space, which is a private Kubernetes cluster. In its function, it is obviously quite similar to a VPC. It is a protected area in which you can deploy your Mule applications. What used to be called a worker in EC2 is now a replica in CloudHub 2.0. So again, if you're familiar with containers, you will be familiar with the term replica. That is essentially the container instance of an API. And instead of a dedicated load balancer in CloudHub 1, we now have an ingress controller in CloudHub 2.0. So these are some of the terminology changes. There's others, but these are the three main ones. So for you to really understand what we're talking about when we talk about a private space, a private cluster, a replica, and an ingress controller. Let's start with the replicas. So that is a dedicated instance of a Mule runtime engine that will run your Mule apps, right? Similar to the concept of CloudHub 1.0 workers. And really, we're making good use of the underlying container capabilities there. So each replica has a capacity to process data, which is determined by the number of vCores assigned to the replica. They're isolated. And again, if you're familiar with containers, you know that isolation works really well in the container space. So we're using that with those replicas. Each replica is deployed and monitored independently of each other, and can run in a specific global region, such as the US, EU, or Asia Pacific. And again, very similar to CloudHub 1, you can decide on where you want to run those replicas. Very similar to CloudHub 1, you also have certain capacity that you can assign to your replicas. It's a bit more granular than in CloudHub 1, as you can see here. In CloudHub 1, you had 0.1, 0.2, and then a jump to 1.0 or to 2.0. Now we've got sort of these intermediate vCore sizes now, 1.5, 0.5, 2.5, etc. Right? Gives you more flexibility to decide what capacity you need for your applications. So that's one of the main sort of improvements there. The other improvement, which I find pretty good, is obviously you can deploy applications in CloudHub 2.0 across different regions. You will know that in CloudHub 1, when you deployed an app, the name of the app needed to be unique globally, right? That is not needed anymore, right? Because what we're doing is now we're introducing 6-digit values that are appended to the app name to ensure uniqueness, a so-called unique ID. And we're also introducing the concept of a so-called shard, which is another 6-digit value associated with the space, the private or the public space that the app is deployed to, right? So that is something that we're automatically adding to the URL of an app. So you can essentially now decide whatever name you want to give to your app. We're making it globally unique now through the unique ID and the shard. Now, the next couple of features are, quite similar to CloudHub 1. It's a redundant platform, so we have a built-in layer of redundancies, and all platform services are available in at least 2 data centers at all times. There's intelligent healing, right? Again, if you're familiar with containers, you know that containers have this intelligent healing capabilities that, or self-healing, that allows to recover a lot quicker from problems. Now, you have that in CloudHub 1 as well, but underneath the covers you have an EC2 VM that would have to be sort of restarted. With containers, they restart a lot quicker than most EC2 instances. And zero-time updates as well, so you can update your applications at runtime, so the end users of your HTTP APIs experience zero downtime. And I see the questions are coming in already. Thanks, Carlos and the team and the MuleSoft team for jumping in and answering them. So please keep those questions coming. Security, same thing. We do not inspect, store, or otherwise interact directly with your payload data. There's no change there between the traditional CloudHub and CloudHub 2. We do collect monitoring, analytics data, log data from CloudHub replicas, and send them through to the CloudHub logs or to the monitoring plane, right? Any sort of property values can be also securely stored away in a way that is not viewable or retrievable by any user. So very similar to traditional CloudHub. Let's talk a little bit about the architecture. So what we have now in CloudHub 2 is shared spaces versus private spaces. So very similar to CloudHub 1, you were able to just deploy an application on CloudHub, or you could create a VPC and essentially protect that application inside of the VPC. Now, the VPC then had to be obviously connected to other cloud services or to your on-prem environment. And that is essentially how shared spaces and private spaces work as well. So shared spaces means it's multi-tenant. You are sharing the cloud resources that run your Mule application with other customers or other users as well. And in each supported region, we support exactly one shared space. Yeah, it's region specific, Bhaskar, so one shared space per region. Now, if you want to protect your data, it's highly recommended, of course. Similar to creating a VPC in CloudHub 1, you can create a private space in CloudHub 2. It's isolated, it's virtual, it's private, and you can create multiple private spaces either in the same or in a different region, depending on the network connections entitlements that you have in your subscription with MuleSoft, right? Again, very, very similar to what we have in CloudHub 1. So what are the differences between shared spaces and private spaces here? Shared spaces, if you don't require any isolation from the public cloud, it's okay to deploy an app in a shared space. If you require single tenancy, it's private space. if you need to connect to a data center, for example, then you would have to use up one of those network connections, either through VPN or a transit gateway attachment. If you require vanity domain names for your apps, again, that would have to be done in a private space and would have to be configured that way. Also, if you have any custom certificates that you want to deploy and run, you can only do that in a private space. And if you want private endpoints, again, that's what you would use a private space for. So one change that I want to call out, obviously, when you have a private space and you need to connect that private space to your on-prem data center, you create the private space first, you define your network region, CIDR block, and the connection type, essentially how you want to connect to your on-prem system. Now, one change that we have is in CloudHub 1, we had 4 options to connect to an on-prem environment. In CloudHub 2, we're really focusing just on classic VPN connectivity and transit gateway. We're doing that simply because these are the 2 connectivities or types of connectivities that are best suited to connect the private space to an on-prem environment. Also, the other 2, VPC peering and direct connect, obviously require a VPC, and we're not using that anymore in CloudHub 2.0. So these 2 options are now falling away. Again, it's recommended to use either VPN or a transit gateway to connect your private space to an on-prem environment. Warren, are we using EKS underneath the covers for CloudHub 2.0? So not Fargate and not ECS. It's the classic EKS service. Yes. All right. I'm cruising here through the slides a bit. If you want to go back to some of those topics, again, we're going to be sharing the recording and also the slide deck on YouTube. But I want to give Tim enough time to do the demo as well, which would be good. With patching, very similar operating system patching. We're doing that at MuleSoft. We do it on a monthly basis using blue-green deployments, which ensures 0 downtime. The Mule runtime patches, they're executed ad hoc based on different schedules. What you can do is, obviously, if you want to patch your runtime yourself manually, again, it's something that you can do as well. Here's a bit of an overview between CloudHub 1 and CloudHub 2. Not gonna spend a lot of time on that. So there's certain things that are already mentioned. We're only supporting VPN and transit gateway in CloudHub 2.0. Basically, many things that are available in CloudHub 1 are also available in CloudHub 2. But there's additional capabilities that we've rolled out, such as outbound firewall rules, which so far was not supported in CloudHub 1. It's now supported in CloudHub 2.0. Multiple trust stores, load balancer logs that you can download yourself rather than going through our support team. That's supported in CloudHub 2. And URL rewriting on an app level is supported in CloudHub 2 as well. So there's a couple smaller key changes, but things that our customers have asked us for quite a while. So what are the limitations of CloudHub 2.0? Certain things to keep in mind, because we're getting a lot of questions. When and how should we move from CloudHub 1 to CloudHub 2? And again, probably the standard answer there, it really depends a bit. If you're someone or a customer who's using mostly on-prem deployments and you want to move towards CloudHub, I would recommend to look at CloudHub 2.0, migrate your applications onto CloudHub 2, unless you have certain requirements and constraints that are not supported in CloudHub 2. If you're a new customer, for example, that is just getting started on the CloudHub journey, I would strongly recommend to go towards CloudHub 2 as well. We will be offering also a migration tool at some point from CloudHub 1 to CloudHub 2. If you're already a CloudHub customer and you want to sort of take advantage, of some of the innovations that we have in CloudHub 2, we'll definitely support that. But there are certain limitations, and I just want to quickly walk through that as well. So first of all, very important, we're only supporting Mule runtime versions 4.3 to 4.4.x. So if you have any applications running on 4.1, 4.2, or 3.9, hopefully there's not too many left there because this is going end of life soon, they're not running on CloudHub 2. So we're only focusing on the sort of last two releases. And then, of course, once we roll out the later versions of Mule to 4.5, for example, it will be supported as well. So quite important to keep in mind. Certain components that you would get in Runtime Fabric are not supported, like endpoint security, secrets manager, tokenizer, WAF policies. Keep in mind, CloudHub 2.0 is not RTF in the cloud, right? It uses container technologies underneath the covers, but we didn't just take Runtime Fabric and port it into the cloud, right? So certain things are like security, for example, we took over from CloudHub 1, but certain other capabilities that you may know from Runtime Fabric, we didn't move over because it didn't make sense. The bursting capabilities that we have or have had in CloudHub 1, where you have CPU credits that you can optimize your workloads around. In theory, we have bursting in CloudHub 2.0 as well, but it won't be as predictable as in CloudHub 1, right? Because obviously CPU credits is something that is, from an AWS perspective, very sort of EC2 and VM specific. So that is something that that we are supporting bursting capabilities, but not in the same predictable manner as in CloudHub 1. There are some workarounds for customers that are relying on more predictable bursting, creating a dedicated private space, or looking at scheduling the jobs in a certain manner. But yeah, that's one of those topics. I talked about private spaces already. TLS 1.0, 1.1 is not supported, but we're supporting TLS 1.3. And again, from a networking perspective, we're only supporting VPN and transit gateway connectivity. VPC peering and direct connect is only available in CloudHub 1. When it comes to deploying applications, so application names, as mentioned, are only required to be unique at the private space, organizational, and environmental level, right? Whereas in CloudHub 1, they were required to be globally unique. If you want to restart an application now, you actually have to stop it and start it, as opposed to restarting it. Autoscaling is not available yet, but watch the space. It will come hopefully very soon. And when it comes to deployment models for patching, we obviously take advantage of the two deployment modes that are available for containers that you may know from the Kubernetes world, so rolling or recreate, right? So rolling, you just spin up a new version and scale down the old version once the new one has been scaled up. Whereas with recreate, the existing version will be shut down first before the new version is deployed. So subtle changes there. Alerting in Runtime Manager, deployment success and deployment failures at this point are the only two supported alert definitions. If you want additional alerting, it will have to be set up through endpoint monitoring. CloudHub Connector and customer alerts are no longer supported in CloudHub 2. And log points at this point are not supported, but I've seen it is on the roadmap. All right, there was a lot of content. Sorry for walking through a little bit quicker, but I wanted to give Tim enough time to go through a demo. So any questions that you have, please put them into the chat. I'll stop sharing now and hand over to Tim.
Thanks, Daniel. All right. Hopefully you can see my desktop.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. I think I'm going to demo a couple of scenarios to show the new features for CloudHub 2.0, and also to demo the difference between the current CloudHub and the CloudHub 2.0, as Daniel just mentioned in his presentation. Okay. First demo, I want to deploy an application into the shared space. All right. So when you come into the runtime manager, choose deploy application. So you have the option to choose deploy the app to CloudHub 2.0, which is here, or you can deploy into CloudHub, which is the current CloudHub target. So within the CloudHub 2.0, we have about 12 shared space per region, so we have 12 regions, so 12 shared space. And if you have created any private space, you will see the private space in the list as well. In the case, I already created this meetup private space here. Okay.
Tim, if you could zoom in a little bit.
Sure.
Make a bit bigger. Maybe it's easier to see. Thank you. That's great.
Better?
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay. The first application I'm going to deploy, just as usual, provide the application name. I will choose one of the shared space, let's say the Sydney, and choose the file. Okay, so for CloudHub 2.0, we support a version from 4.3 onwards, all right? And so for the replica size, as you have seen in the previous presentation, we have more options for the vCore size. Okay, and if you want to find more details, just go to the official documentation here. You can find the supported vCore size and the corresponding memory storage, etc. So replicas, yeah. If you choose more than 2 replicas, you have the option to enable these multiple replicas in the cluster mode, as here, right? And if you have used runtime fabric previously, this looks familiar to you, right? And next one, the object store version 2. This is one of the difference between the current CloudHub and the CloudHub 2.0. For current CloudHub, this kind of like mandatory. So you have to choose object store between, no matter you use it or not. Otherwise, you won't be able to deploy the application. Right? But in CloudHub 2.0, this is optional. So if you don't need object store, you don't need to choose it. Okay. So deployment model, we have 2 options: rolling update and recreate. So rolling update, basically zero downtime. Like when you update the application, it will trigger the deployment, and the current replica is still running until the new replica ready. So it will get terminated. So there's no downtime. But if you choose the recreate, the current replicas will get terminated immediately, and the new replicas will start running. And if you choose rolling update, make sure you have enough vCores left to support the rolling update. For example, if you have a totally licensed, let's say the 4 vCores, and you have used 3 vCores already for your existing application, in that case, if you choose a rolling update, it will not gonna work because it required additional, I think, 2 vCores, right, to keep this existing replicas and the new version of the app running. Okay. Coming into the ingress, so we will talk about the couple of things like the public endpoint and last mile security later. Okay. Property for this app, demo app, I will enable one property called message, and let's see, Pharmacology 2.0. So basically, after I invoke this app endpoint, it will return this message. Right. So I think it's good for now. Let's deploy that. You will notice because it's using the EKS and the container, so the app deployment speed is much faster compared to the current CloudHub, because current CloudHub is on EC2 with the VM. Okay, so let's see the shared space. This one, yeah. So it's with the status, it's still running. While we're waiting for it to get deployed, let's look at this public endpoint URL. As Daniel mentioned previously, for CloudHub 2.0, the app URL has a couple of new things. Let's see the Meetup demo app. Let me copy that here. Make it easier. Cool. So basically, this part is the application name I provided, and this follow the 6 digits. This is the unique ID. This is associated to the environment and business group. Then followed by the shard. You know, it's according to the space, no matter it's shared space or private space. Then followed by the region and the CloudHub.io domain. Okay, so this application is deployed successful. It's quite faster compared to the previous CloudHub. Okay, all right. Let's try to call this this app. Okay, I got a message. You know, hello from CloudHub to the shared space. This is the property value I provided for this app. Okay. The next step I want to, show you the rolling update. In that case, what I'm going to do is I will, let's say, increase the replicas from 1 to 2, and I'll leave the rolling update. Then for the properties, I will update.
Tim, yeah, I just realized some people apparently are having some problems with the screen. I'm not too sure. I am seeing everything fine, but I don't know if this is a problem for everybody.
It looks good for me as well.
Oh, all good now? Okay,
Yeah.
probably it was just a network thing. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, all good, thanks. No problem. Okay. Okay. If we look at the ingress, because this app deployed into the shared space, we have this default, the CloudHub.io public endpoint, right? So this is automatically assigned to by the ingress controller. Then for the property, I would just update this message, simple like that. And in CloudHub 2.0 for the property, you can trigger the protect the property. Once we enable the property protection, as this message says, you will not be able to read it anymore. All right, let's move on. See, nobody can see the value. If you want to update the value, you have to either delete and create a new one, or you can replace the protected value by something else here. Okay, that's how it works with this protected value for the property. Okay, so I just increased this replica from 1 to 2, and also update the property, the message value. So I'm okay with that. So let's deploy the change. So let's keep an eye on the status. So if you click this view status, you can see the progress of the deployment. And as you can see, the previous replica is still running. Then it tried to create the new replicas, right? And for the new change. I just run this command to keep calling this app every 5 seconds. You can see it's still working, the app, with the previous property value here. Okay. We got one more replica. Okay. So the message returned as the updated message, right? Hello from shared space updated. Okay. So that this demo just show you the rolling update, how to achieve the zero downtime, right? When you make change to the application and trigger the redeployment. Okay. Cool. All right. The other thing I want to show you is the look at this configuration section. You know, I basically deployed this application twice, right? This one is the initial, the bottom one is the initial deployment. Then the top one is the latest update I put in. I changed the value, the message value, whatever. So for CloudHub 2.0, you have the option like basically the platform remember all of the configuration, the previous one. So if we want to roll back to the previous configuration, you just highlight it and click apply change. Then it will roll back to the previous version. I think this is very helpful. For example, you deploy something into your production and somehow it failed or didn't work as expected, then you can quickly roll back to the previous version. You know, this is quite handy. Okay. All right. Okay. The second demo, I want to demo the application in the private space. But before I can demo that, we need to look into the private space first. You can create a private space from here. I already created one. Okay, so when we create the private space, we need to provide the CDR block range, very similar compared to the VPC in CloudHub 1. And once this private space up running, it might take like between 10 to 20 minutes. So you will get the assigned public DNS target, okay, the CloudHub.io, and the private DNS target. And the interesting thing is that you also got assigned the static IP address for both inbound and outbound. In this case, in my private space, I got 3 static IP address for inbound and 3 IP address for outbound. This depends on the region you are in and also how many available zones in that region. I feel like the outbound static IP feature is quite useful because one of our customers has asked me a question like they have a new application need to request a downstream system, and that particular downstream system need the IP whitelist for the inbound request, and somehow that system every time it will take like 2 to 3 days to enable the new IP in their IP whitelist. So assuming, imagine this application in your production, right? If you need to do the horizontal scale up, let's say you assign new workers, that's okay, but we will not be able to pre-allocate a static IP address to the workers, right, in the CloudHub 1. So that means you have to wait for the workers deployed, then you can get the static IP address. Then you might pass the IP address to the network team or security team to let them add that into the IP whitelist address, but that takes a few days. So that new worker already start handling the traffic, that causes a bit problem, right? So with this outbound static IP feature, it can perfectly solve this issue. For whatever downstream system, they just need to whitelist the assigned static IP here. Okay. For the connections, as Daniel mentioned, at the moment for CloudHub 2.0, we support VPN and the transit gateway. So you can use one either option to connect to your on-prem or other cloud environment if you want. Okay. Move on to the domains and TLS. Whenever you create a private space, you will get this default key store, which is a cloud, which is this one called CloudHub.io. and you won't be able to delete it, this will be used for the private space ingress, like if you want to call this public endpoint. And in addition to this default key store, you can add your own like your vanity domain or your self-signed or key store into the list. In this case, I created two, one called Meetup. This actually fake one, it's not gonna work. The other one is 80+. Actually, I registered this domain a few years ago. I want to use this one to show you how to configure the DNS stuff, right? To be able to use the your vanity domain. Okay. Firewall rules in CloudHub 2.0, we can manage inbound traffic, and also now we can control the outbound traffic. Okay, from the firewall. This is a great feature to have. Environment. This is different between the CloudHub 1 and CloudHub 2. So in CloudHub 1, you can assign individual environment to the VPC, right? But in CloudHub 2.0, it depends on you can assign the environment type, for example, sandbox or production, not an individual environment anymore. Okay. In the advanced, so HTTP request. This is a similar feature as in the CloudHub 1. You can either redirect for the HTTP request. You can choose one of these options: reject or accept or drop. And the same for the response timeout. This is a new feature. Now you can download the ingress load balancer logs from the private space. Okay, you can specify which level of the log you want to record, and later on you can download it. And for AWS service role, if you can enable this AWS service role, so to allow the CloudHub 2.0, the private space, to use your AWS resource. You can just give that your AWS. I think I put something. Yeah, you can use that leverage the IAM rules to connect the private space with your AWS resource. Okay. All right. So that's about the setup for the private space. Okay. So now we have the private space ready. We can go back to the runtime manager. And I deployed the one of the private application into the private space already. So from the deployment point of view, it's very similar compared to the deploy application to shared space, but you do have some additional features here, mainly for the ingress part. You know, in the shared space, you can only maintain the public endpoint with that CloudHub.io, this CloudHub domain, right? But in for the private space, you remember I also maintain another two TLS contexts. One is with the meetup.com domain. The other one is atplus.com.au. So I can also enable the public endpoints for these two custom domain as well. Okay. So this one, the atplus.com.au, this is a valid custom domain I registered before. So you can configure that in your DNS service. About how to configure that, let's go back to the private space and find that particular TLS context, atplus. I think I did, yes. So here is the instruction about how to configure the DNS to point to route the traffic to the CloudHub private space. So in your DNS, you just need to create a CNAME record and with this configuration. So for my domain, I'm using the GoDaddy. So in my GoDaddy DNS record, I just configure exactly follow the instruction, CNAME with this subdomain as the wildcard, and then I put my CloudHub private space target DNS at this one. So that's all you need to do. Okay. So go back to application. Private. So now I have my DNS configuration ready, so I can just call this endpoint and pass the resource rating. Yeah, so my vanity domain is working as expected. Okay, that's how the DNS works for the private space. All right, and you can also do the kind of like the path rewriting. For example, you might want to do something like let's say copy the link. All right. This is the current the app endpoint. So you might want to say, okay, for my consumers, I want them to call. I want to give them the endpoint like this, maybe V1 and a greeting. So I want my customer, I want my consumer to call this endpoint instead of the default one. In that case, you can use the path rewrite. For example, just copy this one to here. All right. Okay, that's all you need to do. And let's save the change. Okay. So now I update that path a little bit. All right. So what I can also do is go back to here. If in my path rewrite, I put a greeting here. Apply. So that means this endpoint will map to the greeting endpoint. So that means once this is ready, I don't need to put this on. I just simply call the meetup version 1 that's gonna map back to the greetings. Okay. Yeah, good. It's working now. Pretty fast for the update and the redeployment. Okay. So now I just simply call meetup v1. I don't have to put the greeting because it's handled by the path rewrite. Okay. So compared to CloudHub 1.0, in CloudHub 1, you can do the URL rewriting in the DRB level, dedicated load balancer level, and you can use a feature like placeholders, for example, the placeholder for version or application name. But in CloudHub 2.0, this path rewrite is on the individual application level, and it's kind of like basic rewrite. Doesn't have that placeholder feature. Just bear in mind with this thing. Okay. All right. So the last demo I want to show you guys is about the last mile of security. All right. Okay. I have this application deployed into the let's say the shared space. Okay. Sorry. Before this one, I want to demo the use the Maven to deploy the application. Okay. So I create this the project. It's simply the handle the same thing. Just return the message back from the application. So in order to use Maven plugin to deploy into CloudHub 2.0, the one thing we need to update the POM file. So this is a plugin we need to configure to be able to deploy it into CloudHub 2.0 and make sure the version is above 3.7. And for the provider, it's MC, which is the Mule container. If you are using RTF before, you know this is the same as RTF. And we need to specify the environment, right? In my case, I'm going to deploy it into my sandbox environment. And for the target, this is my shared space target name. You can find it from from the application, for example, yeah, the target name, because this application are deployed into the shared space. So this is shared space target name. You can just copy and paste into the POM file. And I'm using connected app credential to post that app. Replica, same one, and vcall 0.1. You can also specify the properties like normal property, or if you want to secure with that protect property as I showed you before, you can use this secure property segment. And you can also configure this enable the forward SSL session or last mile security. In this case, I just use default false. And also we need to configure the distribution management to be able to publish and download this into the Exchange v3 artifact. Okay. All right.
Okay, Tim, a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'll speed up.
That's all right.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's all good.
Cool. Okay. To deploy this through the Maven plugin, we have 2 steps. Step 1, this is gonna firstly upload that the artifact into the Exchange, right? Yeah. So
We only see the terminal right now.
okay.
Not the browser.
Not the browser. How about not still the same?
Yeah, we see the terminal now. That's the browser in the background. The terminal is in the foreground.
Okay. Interesting. Still the same. You can only see the terminal.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, to me as well. But I have had to refresh my page multiple times during this presentation. For some reason,
it's my problem this time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it takes you out, and then you rejoin, and then you can see everything again. I don't know why it is performing poorly today.
All right. Hopefully, other people can see my browser and also my terminal.
Yeah, now I can see it, but I had to refresh. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I just continue. Thanks, Carlos and Daniel.
Okay. Look, if you want to sort of close off, Tim, so we can do the quiz as well. Anything that you wanted to call out maybe in the next minute or so?
Just one more demo is the last mile security. Probably just take 2 or 3 more minutes if that's okay. Or too late.
Yeah, maybe let's stop here at this point, because the meetup will turn off at 6:45, I think, and we wanna get the quiz over as well. If there's any questions that you want to ask, just place them in the chat, please.
Sure. Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim. That was awesome. A lot of great content.
Too much to demo, so
that's good.
That's okay.
If you can unshare the screen, awesome, great. I'll take over from here. And there's a lot of good topics. We could probably go for a couple of hours, but let's, in the interest of time, and I know it's late, especially for the people in Australia. Let's go to the quiz. Okay, cool. We've got a quiz as always. If you can open up a web browser. Hold on, what's going on here? Lost connection. All right. Give me a second. I just need to restart the quiz app here. All right. All right. Hope that works now. Right. So if you go to any device on your phone, preferably on the phone, it would probably be good. joinmyquiz.com. So that's one word, join my quiz. I know there's a bit of space in between, but that's actually not correct. So joinmyquiz.com and then enter the game code. And yep, I've got the first couple of people starting. Look, it's 6:30 already. If you want to hang around, feel free. Otherwise, we're conscious of time. Let's wait another minute to before we get started. Still about 40 people here in this meetup, which is great. Thanks for hanging around and sticking around. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, Warren, that would be transit gateway and VPN connecting to a private space. Cool. All right. If you want to join, use your real names, please, as well. If you want to win something, I think we're 23 now. So let's get started. And we've got 10 questions that are pretty much related to some non-technical topics, but also then topics for that we covered as part of this presentation. The first one, this is just it's just a trial. Are you ready for this quiz? Good. All right. Let's go to the next question. That's the real one. Yep, that's good. What is the name of the new 6-digit value introduced in CloudHub 2.0 that is associated with a space? All right, that is the shard. So 10 of you got that correct. Next question. Which AWS infrastructure is CloudHub 2.0 based on? Is it ECS, EKS, Fargate, or the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud? All right, time is up. And we have our leaderboard. Bashkar, no, Mega on top now. And the correct answer was the Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS. That's what CloudHub 2.0 is based on. Next question. Globally, what is the highest grossing Christmas movie of all times? Die Hard, The Grinch, Home Alone, or Elf? Okay. Leaderboard. We now have a bit of movement here. Janice takes over the lead, and the correct answer was actually The Grinch. Only 2 got that right. Interesting. I would have thought Home Alone as well, but Grinch is a classic. Now let's a technology question. What capabilities would you use to connect CloudHub 2.0 to a private network? Check all that apply. VPN, Direct Connect, VPC peering, transit, gateway. So if you scroll quickly through the chat, you will find the answer in there as well. Leaderboard, Jen is still on top. And the correct answer is VPN and Transit Gateway. These are the two capabilities that you can use to connect CloudHub 2.0 to a private network. Next question. Are outbound firewall rules supported in CloudHub 2.0? Yes or no? Okay, leaderboard. Mega is taking the lead. And the answer, most of you got that right. Outbound firewall rules, something that a lot of customers have asked for, and we introduced that now in CloudHub 2.0. Good. Next question. What is the theme for the Maya Christmas windows this year? Alice in Wonderland, May Gibbs, Unriddled Christmas, or Disney 100 Years of Wonder? God, I have no idea. I don't go to department stores anymore. Everything online. Okay, let's see how you've been faring. Looks like maybe some of you have been to the Meyer Christmas window already. So Janice taking over the lead again. And the correct answer is Disney 100 Years of Wonder. So 14 of you will have been there already by the looks of it. Okay, 2 more questions to go. Which Mule runtime versions are supported on CloudHub 2.0? Check all that apply. Okay. Time is up, and yes, that is 4.3 and 4.4. Leaderboard. Mega has been taken over again. So, and most of you got that right as well. So 4.3 and 4.4 are the only 2 versions that we're supporting. Of course, once we release 4.5, that will be supported as well. But anything below 4.3 is not supported. Actually, now we have 2 more questions to go. What are the 2 different deployment models for patching an application on CloudHub 2.0? Rolling and recreate, blue and green, automatic and manual, or ramped and rotating? Mega still on top. And correct answer is rolling and recreate. These are pretty much the concepts from the container world. Final question. The tradition of putting up a Christmas tree originated in what country? Australia, Germany, England, or the United States of America? And we've got a leaderboard. Oh, harsh. And the correct answer is Germany, right? I come from Germany, but I had no idea. I would have thought it was from England as well. But there you go. You learn something every day. So congratulations to the winners. We will contact you, although the winner, Harsh, he's a muley. Sorry, no, you can't win, Harsh. That's so we'll find out who the winners are, who are not muleys. Dashboard, and where are the winners? Here we go. Oh no. So we've got Mega, Bhaskar, and I need to find out who's number 4. But again, we'll get in touch with you and you will win something. Still I still need to find out what you're going to be winning. But I want to say a big thank you to Tim, to Carlos, to Adam for this meetup. Fantastic help, especially what you did, Carlos, on the chat of helping. And thanks a lot to Tim for the great demo. It was fantastic. I wish we'd had a little bit more time. And I want to thank everyone and for joining. We'll do our next meetup next year. So we wish everyone a great end of the year, whatever and however you're celebrating. I hope you enjoy the summer, and we'll see you early next year for the next Melbourne meetup. Thanks everyone, and see you around. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.